Ever feel like the world's greatest mysteries are just waiting to be uncovered? From eerie ancient ruins that whisper forgotten secrets, to lost inventions that vanished without a trace, to mind-bending natural phenomena and relics hinting at humanity's origins millions of years ago. Each mystery weaves together a rich, enigmatic tapestry of our past, daring us to ask, how much do we really know? Today, we journey into the heart of the unknown, a place where the past refuses to surrender its secrets, and every shadow hides a puzzle that has tormented the greatest minds for centuries. So sit tight, and you will have incredible luck if you like and subscribe before this video ends. 1. The Stone Spheres of Costa Rica, the Silent Watchers. Imagine the rainforest at dawn. Heavy mist clings to the tangled canopy, every shadow thick with secrets. The air is alive with the calls of hidden creatures, and beneath the dense, suffocating green, something ancient waits. Here, in the Judicula Delta, explorers once hacked their way through a wall of vines and rotting leaves, only to strike something cold, smooth, and impossibly round. In 1940, a team of banana plantation workers stumbled upon the first stone sphere. We thought it was a boulder at first, one worker later recalled, his voice trembling. But when we cleared the earth, it was perfect, so round, so smooth. It looked like the world's biggest marble, dropped by a giant child. As more spheres emerged from the jungle, the men grew uneasy. They were everywhere, like they'd been watching us all along, another whispered. We started to wonder if we should leave them alone. Archaeologists soon descended on the site, eager to solve the riddle. They measured, photographed, and cataloged over 300 spheres, some no bigger than a fist, others weighing more than 16 tons. They tested the stone, granodiorite, shaped without metal tools. But no tool marks, no blueprints, no clues. The spheres were scattered in lines, clusters, and geometric patterns, yet no one could explain their purpose. Were they markers for lost cities? Astronomical calendars? The work of a vanished civilization, the Judicula, whose language and customs had faded into oblivion. One night, a researcher camping near the spheres awoke to the sound of footsteps, soft, deliberate, circling his tent. He peered out, heart pounding, but saw only the moonlight glinting off the nearest sphere. In the morning, he found strange impressions in the soil, as if something heavy had been dragged around the stones. It was like they'd moved in the night, he wrote in his journal, like they were alive. What drove an ancient people to carve these perfect orbs, risking life and limb to guard them in the heart of the jungle? Why did they bury some, hide others, and leave no record of their purpose? The spheres remain, silent sentinels in the rainforest, their secrets as impenetrable as the vines that once concealed them. Some say they mark the homes of kings, others whisper of portals to other worlds. But the truth is lost, buried beneath centuries of earth and fear. And as the jungle slowly reclaims its prize, the question lingers. What were the spheres watching for? And what happens if they ever wake? 2. The Miami Circle, the portal beneath the city. Beneath Miami's neon skyline, where glass towers scrape the sky and the city never sleeps, something ancient pulses in the darkness. The ground itself hides a secret, a perfect ring of limestone, carved 2,000 years ago, waiting for the world to remember. In 1998, construction workers tearing up the riverfront for a new development hit something strange. The earth just gave way, one worker recounted. We found this circle cut into the bedrock. At first, I thought it was a sewer or some old foundation, but it was too perfect, too deliberate. As archaeologists arrived, the site took on an eerie atmosphere. The air felt heavy, said one volunteer, like we were trespassing on sacred ground. Researchers identified the circle as the work of the Tequesta, a tribe long vanished from history. They found post holes, animal bones, shark teeth, and blackened stone axes, all arranged with unsettling precision. But the purpose of the circle defied explanation. Was it a temple? A council house? A place of sacrifice? Some theorized it was an astronomical calendar, others a burial site. But no artifacts, no writings, no oral histories survived to offer answers. The circle's true function remained a void at the heart of Miami. One night, a security guard patrolling the site heard chanting, soft, rhythmic, echoing from the stone circle. He saw shadows flickering at the edge of his flashlight, dancing around the ring. When he approached, the voices vanished, leaving only the hum of the city. It was like the past was bleeding through, he later said, like something was waiting to be awakened. The Miami circle remains, a wound in the earth that refuses to heal. The city has grown up around it, but the circle persists, a silent challenge to the living. Was it a gateway to another world? A place of power or of blood? The Tequesta are gone, their secrets lost to the swamp and the sea. But the circle endures, daring us to dig deeper, to awaken what should have remained undisturbed. And as the city pulses above, the question lingers. What lies beneath, waiting for those who dare to look? 3. The stone statues of Sulawesi, faces in the mist. Dawn breaks over the Bata Valley, and a ghostly fog clings to the ground. Here, on the haunted island of Sulawesi, Indonesia, the jungle seems to breathe, each gust of wind carrying whispers from the past. As the mist lifts, stone faces emerge from the gloom, silent, watchful, and impossibly old. A local guide, leading a team of researchers through the valley, described the moment he first saw the statues. It felt like stepping into a dream, he said, his eyes wide with memory. The faces were everywhere, staring at us from the shadows. Some looked sad, others angry. I felt like we were being judged. The statues, some barely knee-high, others towering above the men, seemed to crowd around them, their features worn but unmistakably human. Archaeologists cataloged hundreds of these megaliths, statues with round eyes, pursed lips, and arms folded in mysterious gestures. No villages, no graves, no tools were found nearby. Carbon dating yielded only confusion. The statues could be anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 years old. The local lore people offered legends, stories of ancient crimes, of giants and gods, but no records, no blueprints, no answers. The statues' purpose and the hands that made them had vanished into the mist. One night, a researcher camped near the statues awoke to the sound of chanting, low, mournful, echoing through the valley. He stepped outside and saw the fog swirling around the largest statue, its eyes glinting in the moonlight. The next morning, he found strange footprints circling his tent, bare, human, but impossibly large. It was as if the statues had walked in the night, he wrote, leaving only their shadows behind. Are the statues guardians, prisoners, or something else entirely? Do they mark a sacred site, or a curse that lingers in the valley's mist? The Bata Valley remains silent, its stone faces watching, waiting, daring us to uncover their story. And as the fog rolls in each morning, the question remains, who carved these faces, and what are they waiting for? 4. The sword in the stone, Italy's forgotten miracle. In the rolling hills of Tuscany, where the air is thick with legend and the scent of cypress, a lonely chapel stands guard over a miracle. Inside, sunlight slants through stained glass, illuminating an object that should not exist. A sword, ancient and rusted, plunged deep into solid stone. A caretaker of the chapel remembered the first time he tried to touch the sword. It was cold, colder than anything I've ever felt, he said. I tried to pull it free, just like in the stories, but it wouldn't budge. It felt like the stone was swallowing it, holding it tight. Pilgrims come from across the world, some kneeling in awe, others weeping. You can feel the power in the air, one visitor whispered. It's like the sword is alive. Historians traced the legend to Galgano Guidati, a 12th century knight who, tormented by visions, renounced violence and drove his sword into the stone as a vow of peace. Skeptics called it a hoax, but X-rays and metallurgical tests confirmed the blade was real, its hilt fused with the rock, its story unbroken by time. No evidence of tampering, no sign of trickery. The sword's presence defied explanation, its legend only growing with each failed attempt to remove it. One stormy night, lightning struck the chapel. The next morning, visitors found the sword gleaming, as if newly forged. Locals whispered that Galgano's spirit had returned, renewing his vow. A priest reported hearing voices in the chapel, soft, urgent, pleading for forgiveness. It was as if the stone itself was speaking, he said, begging us not to disturb its secret. Was the sword a miracle, a warning, or the desperate act of a man seeking redemption? Why does it remain untouched and untouchable centuries after Galgano's death? The chapel stands silent, the sword waiting, daring the world to believe in the impossible. And as the hills of Tuscany darken each night, the legend grows. What secret binds the sword to the stone, and what would happen if it were ever freed? 5. The Viking penny, the coin that shouldn't exist. In the cold, whispering forests of Maine, where the wind carries secrets through the pines, a single glint of silver changed everything. Buried beneath centuries of leaves and loam, an object surfaced that should not have been there. A coin, ancient and out of place, shimmering with the weight of 1,000 unanswered questions. In 1957, an amateur archaeologist named Guy Melgren was sifting through the remains of a Native American settlement when he found it. At first, I thought it was just another trinket, he recalled. But when I brushed off the dirt, I saw the markings. It was old, very old, and not from here. Word spread quickly. Locals gathered, staring at the coin in awe. It felt like holding a ghost, one said. Like the past was reaching out, trying to tell us something. Experts identified the artifact as a Norwegian silver penny, minted nearly 1,000 years ago, centuries before Columbus, across an ocean no one believed had been crossed. Archaeologists scoured the site for more evidence: Viking tools, weapons, anything to explain the coin's presence. But nothing else appeared. The penny was a solitary clue, its edges worn, a hole punched through as if it had been worn as a talisman. Some claimed it was traded across countless hands. Others insisted a lost Norse explorer had dropped it, far from home. But the truth remained elusive, slipping further away with each new theory. On a foggy night, a local historian claimed to see figures moving through the trees near the dig site, tall, cloaked, their faces hidden. The next morning, he found the ground disturbed, as if someone, or something, had been searching for the coin. It was like they wanted it back, he whispered, clutching the penny. Like they were watching us, waiting for us to make a mistake. How did a Viking coin find its way to the forests of Maine? Was it a lost explorer's last hope, a trade gone wrong, or a warning meant for those who would follow? The penny stands alone, a solitary relic in a land that should never have known its touch. And as the wind sighs through the trees, the question lingers: what other secrets lie buried, waiting to be found? And what stories will they tell when we finally listen? 6. The big stone circles, wheels in the desert. Long ago, in the sun-scorched deserts of Jordan and Syria, the land stretched out in endless waves of ochre and gold. The silence was absolute, broken only by the wind that swept across the barren plains. But hidden beneath the dust and rock, something ancient and impossible waited to be revealed, a pattern that only the eyes of the sky could see. In the early 20th century, Bedouin shepherds spoke of strange rings in the desert, but it was not until pilots flew overhead that the true scale of the mystery became clear. From above, it looked like the earth had been branded, one pilot recounted. Perfect circles, some nearly half a mile across, etched into the ground. No entrances, no exits, just endless stone wheels, older than anything I had ever seen. Archaeologists descended upon the region, mapping more than a dozen of these massive circles, some solitary, others clustered together like the gears of a forgotten machine. They measured the stones, analyzed the soil, and searched for clues. The circles predated the pyramids, their construction a feat of unimaginable labor. Some theorized they were calendars, others suggested they marked sacred ground or celestial events. Yet no tools, no graves, no artifacts explained their purpose. The circles kept their silence, and every theory dissolved into the desert air. One night, a team of researchers camped near the largest wheel reported a strange phenomenon. As the moon rose, a low hum vibrated through the stones, and shadows danced across the sand in perfect circles. The next morning, their compasses spun wildly, refusing to settle. It was as if the earth itself was alive, one scientist wrote, and the circles were its heartbeat. Who built these wheels and why? Were they messages to the gods or warnings to those who would come after? The desert reclaimed its secrets, the circles enduring as silent witnesses to a forgotten age. And as the sun set each night, the question haunted those who had seen them. What force had shaped these wheels, and what story did they still whisper to the endless, empty sky? 7. The Newton Stone, the inscription no one could read. In the mist-shrouded hills of Aberdeenshire, Scotland, a single standing stone loomed over the landscape, a sentinel from another era. The wind howled through the heather, carrying with it the echoes of voices long lost. The stone, battered by centuries of rain and frost, bore a message that no living soul could decipher. In the 18th century, a local farmer stumbled upon the Newton Stone while clearing his field. It was covered in strange marks, he later told his neighbors. Serpents, flowers, and lines of writing I had never seen before. It felt like the stone was trying to speak, but in a language that didn't belong to this world. Word spread, and soon scholars and mystics alike flocked to the site, each hoping to unlock its secrets. Experts studied the stone for generations, comparing the inscription to Ogham, Latin, Greek, and even ancient Pictish. Some believed it was a warning, others a prophecy, or a desperate plea from a dying people. Yet every attempt to translate the script ended in frustration. The symbols refused to yield their meaning, and the stone remained a riddle carved in granite. Even advanced imaging and linguistic software failed to crack the code, leaving the Newton Stone as enigmatic as the day it was found. One stormy evening, a linguist spent the night beside the stone, determined to make a breakthrough. As the wind howled and lightning flashed, he claimed to hear whispers in the darkness, soft, urgent, speaking in a tongue he could almost understand. When dawn broke, he found the ground around the stone disturbed, as if someone, or something, had circled it in the night. Was the Newton Stone a warning, a prophecy, or the last desperate message of a forgotten people? The inscription remained unreadable, a message from the past that taunted every attempt at understanding. And as the mists rolled in each morning, the stone stood silent, guarding its secret and daring the world to listen. 8. The Plain of Jars, Laos Field of Shadows. Far from the cities, in the wild heart of Laos, the land opened into a windswept plain. Here, thousands of stone jars lay scattered across the grass, each one carved from solid rock, each one a silent witness to a vanished world. The air was thick with mystery, and the ground seemed to hum with the weight of centuries. In the early 20th century, French archaeologists ventured into the plain, guided by local villagers who feared the place. The jars were everywhere. One explorer wrote in his diary, some as small as a child, others so massive it would take 10 men to move them. They stood in clusters and lines, as if marking the site of some ancient gathering. The villagers warned the team not to linger after dark. Spirits walk among the jars at night, they whispered. They are not meant for the living. Researchers excavated the jars, searching for clues to their origin. Some contained human bones, others were empty. Theories abounded. Were there tombs, cradling the dead for their journey to the next world? Or were they cauldrons, used to brew rice wine for ancient feasts? Carbon dating placed their creation over 2,000 years ago, but the culture that built them had vanished, leaving behind no written record. Every answer only raised more questions, and the jars remained, their purpose unknown. One night, a team of archaeologists camped among the jars heard footsteps crunching through the grass. They saw pale lights drifting between the stones, and the air grew icy cold. In the morning, their equipment was found scattered, as if tossed by invisible hands. It felt like the dead were watching us, one researcher confessed, like we had disturbed something that should have been left alone. Were the jars tombs, cauldrons, or something else entirely? What ceremonies had taken place on this haunted plain, and what spirits still lingered among the stones? The jars endured centuries of war, weather, and curiosity, their secret unbroken. And as the wind swept across the field each night, the plain whispered its warning. Some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. 9. Judicula Rock, the Giant's Mark. In the shadowed hollows of North Carolina's Blue Ridge Mountains, the forests grew thick and ancient, their silence broken only by the calls of distant birds. Tucked away among mossy boulders and tangled roots, a single stone slab lay exposed, a canvas of cryptic carvings, weathered by 3,000 years of wind and rain. Local Cherokee elders once led curious travelers to the rock, warning them to tread lightly. "This is Judicula's mark," they would say, voice low with reverence. The giant leapt from the mountain, landing here, and pressed his 7-fingered hand into the stone. One visitor, a hiker who stumbled upon the boulder at dusk, described an overwhelming sense of being watched. The air felt heavy, she recalled. The carvings seemed to shift in the fading light, as if alive. Archaeologists cataloged the petroglyphs, hundreds of symbols, spirals, lines, and claw-like prints, some ancient, some more recent. They tried to match the motifs to known languages and maps, hoping to unlock a code or a story. Some suggested the rock was a boundary marker. Others believed it was a sacred site for ceremonies or a star map for ancient astronomers. Yet, despite decades of study, the true meaning of the symbols remained elusive. No one could say for certain who made the carvings or why. One autumn night, a local historian camped beside the rock, determined to document every marking. As he sketched by lantern light, a sudden chill swept over the clearing. He heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, impossibly heavy, crunching through the leaves. The air vibrated with a low, unearthly hum. When he looked up, the carvings seemed to glow faintly, and a shadow loomed across the stone. By dawn, the historian's sketches were smeared and torn, as if snatched by invisible hands. What story did Judicula Rock truly tell? Was it a warning, a guide, or a message from a world where giants walked the earth? The petroglyphs endured, their meanings lost to time and myth. And as the mists rolled down from the mountains each evening, the rock waited, daring the living to decipher its secret and to face whatever might answer. 10. The Skulls of Motala, Sweden's Chamber of Horrors. Beside the cold, black waters of Lake Vättern in Sweden, the land was haunted by silence. For thousands of years, the bogs and marshes had hidden their dead, but in the 21st century, as archaeologists dug deep into the mud, they uncovered a tableau of horror that defied all logic. The first skull emerged from the peat, its hollow eyes staring skyward. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen, one archaeologist said, her voice shaking. The skull was pierced by a wooden stake, and inside it were fragments of another human's bones. We kept digging, and more skulls appeared. Men, women, children, even infants, all arranged with chilling precision. The team felt a growing sense of unease. It was as if we had stumbled into a burial ground for nightmares. The bones dated back 8,000 years, older than the oldest cities, older than written history. Some skulls bore marks of healing wounds, suggesting repeated violence. Others were found with animal bones, as if the dead had been mingled with the remains of beasts. The arrangement defied explanation. Were these sacrifices, trophies, or part of a ritual no one could comprehend? The scientists tested the soil, analyzed the DNA, and reconstructed the faces of the dead. But every answer only deepened the mystery. No culture, no tradition, no known people had ever treated their dead in such a way. One night, as the team packed up their tools, a thick fog rolled in from the lake. The temperature plummeted, and the marsh seemed to come alive with whispers. Footsteps splashed in the water, though no one was there. In the morning, the stakes that had held the skulls were found rearranged, forming a new, unknown pattern. It was as if the dead were sending us a message, one team member wrote in her journal, or warning us to leave. Why had the people of Motala arranged their dead in such a macabre display? What beliefs or fears had driven them to pierce skulls and mingle bones? The answers remained locked beneath the cold waters of the lake, guarded by the silence of millennia. And as the wind howled across the marsh each night, the site whispered its warning. Some secrets are kept by the dead for a reason. 10 mysteries. 10 riddles that had haunted the living for centuries. Each one a fragment of a story that might never be fully understood. Stones, bones, and scars in the earth. These were all that remained of worlds lost to time. People dug, searched, and dreamed, but the past was a labyrinth, and its secrets were well guarded. Some believed the answers were out there, waiting to be found. Others whispered that some mysteries were meant to remain unsolved. But as long as these enigmas endured, humanity would keep searching, haunted by the shadows of those who came before. Feel free to leave your comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more mysteries like this. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.